I think most players completely misunderstand why the hero reset event exists at first place. And I don't mean the mechanics, I mean the reason it changed so many account decisions. Because when I first hear about hero reset, I thought exactly what most players probably think. Finally, I can fix my mistakes. That sounds great, until one small detail completely changed the way you look at this event. Apparently, if you're invested Generation 1 copies and universal tokens into a hero, you don't simply get those exact resources back. Everything comes back as Generation 2 tokens. And the moment I read that, I stop thinking about hero reset. I start thinking about hero investment. Because I don't think this event is actually about resetting heroes. I think it's exposing how we invest in them. And to be fair, for the first time, I have this feeling about I need to reset a hero was back in the days with the Kinara. I completely understand. I'm not going to play Archer main. I'm not going to be Archer main. And in season one, I invest in Kinara. I invest in Madeline. I invest in so many heroes. Even the game changed Madeline from infantry to overall. But at the end of the day, as you can see, my Kinara is resetted because I have the opportunity to reset her. But at the end of the day, I was having some heroes that I was looking to reset. And a lot of people was talking about this for maybe years. From the season 2 or maybe season 2 plus, back in the days there was season 2 plus, people was talking about this, about hero resets. And just because they was looking to get their tokens back. And the first realization I had was surprisingly simple. The players think heroes reset to remove investment mistake. I don't think it does. I think it transforms them. There is a huge difference. If I spent universal tokens today, I made a decision. I've been committed. When those resources come back as something different, I haven't traveled back in the time. I'll be simply moved into a different position. That means hero reset isn't really deleting a decisions, it's changing the directions of one. And I think that's where players start making bad assumptions. Because they stop asking, should I invest? They start thinking, I can always reset later. Those are two commonly different mindsets. And to be fair, I was also having this thinking when the first time the hero reset appeared in Call of Dragons. As I already mentioned, I reset Kinara, I reset also Niku, by the way. Even though that I level up this spell, I don't know why, like 2 times, but I reset this bad boy. And you know, the heroes that I'm not planning to play, I'm resetting them. But yeah, at one point I was thinking, should I actually do the reset? Or what is the main purpose of the reset? Because here is the thing. You invest universal tokens in this hero, but you're receiving a generation 2 tokens. You're not going to receive generation 5 tokens at the end of the day. So this is a very important moment that you should think of when you're investing your universal tokens. Because I can say maybe the most expensive thing in this game is actually the universal tokens. That's why I'm trying to save mine. I have like 335. I invest some of them in one of the new mages. I make one of the mages fully awakened. This is Kantaman. As you can see, it's not even level 60, but it's awakened. It's this bad boy is like, yeah. And this is the other hero, Verdum. Now, for Verdum, as you can see, it's like 5441. I didn't fully invest in this bad boy, even though that I can basically awake this hero, but I don't do this step with my universal tokens. So an example of hero investment that feels safe I don't think I actually have from this event that is coming in Call of Dragons. That is in Call of Dragons, the hero reset. But then I start wondering something else. If hero reset doesn't really undo my decisions, then what did it actually lose? Most people immediately looks at the 20%. I don't. I look at flexibility because before I spent those universals, they could become any hero, any generation, any future meta. Those moments I invest them, that flexibility disappear. And it's like that. You invest your universal tokens and it's game over. Those tokens are spent. Even though that the hero reset event appear in the game, you're not going to be able to get back these universal tokens. You're just going to get some generation tokens that you have to spend on specific heroes. And here reset doesn't completely bring it back. That's the part I think most players never calculate. They calculate token value, they calculate the future options, those aren't the same things. And I'm going to share with you my personal experience about waiting with universal tokens until hero provide their value. And this is these two heroes that I already show you. This is Verdun and the other one is Kantaman. Now, right now in Call of Dragons, a lot of people are investing in infantry. You may ask why? It's just because infantry, they're tanky and people use them to make some crazy merit report. You just do one blink and you leave your hero there, and for like 1 minute and a half gameplay with your infantry, you make like 40 or maybe 30k merits report. 20k is not that bad for 1 minute and 30 seconds. So people was doing that, and that's why I started. I invest in Kantaman after, I was able to do some testing in Battle of Abyss with those heroes to see their performance. And to be fair, in some cases, they was outperforming my Yu-Ming. That was crazy. My Yu-Ming and Grumara. And Yu-Ming and Grumara, both of them are awakened. Yu-Ming is having even Dragon Fate artifacts like level 5 example edition. So, it's a solid one. Till my Vardun is having this artifact, Doom Braces. I don't have the example edition, but it's level 5, so it's maxed this artifact. So yeah, this is some personal experience about where I was waiting with my universal tokens. And even though that I was waiting with them, I still didn't actually spend them. I didn't fully spend them. I have like 320. That's completely changed another decision for me. Instead of asking who should I reset, I start asking why did I invest in this hero at the first place? Because if the answer is the community say they were broken, that's a dangerous investment process. If the answer is I want instant power, that's another dangerous process. The hero reset doesn't fix either one. It simply gives you another chance to repeat them. And I think that's the biggest trap. Players think the event fixes bad hero choices. I think it exposes bad investment habits. Those are two very different problems. And I'm going to give you a real example of hero that I just decided to not invest despite of the community hype. And that was Maggrat. Now, Maggrat was actually really broken when the game presented this hero. And boy, oh boy, this thing was hitting like a truck. Now, I have seen people with 200k reports, and I was expecting the game to, at one point, make only marksman, because here is Maggrat Legion, it's not marksmans, it's Maggrat Legion, so it can be even infantry inside, get variable healing, blah blah blah, doing some damage. So I was expecting this thing to be changed, so I was a little conservative when I was thinking to invest in Maggrat. But at one point I think like this is one of the heroes that I'm going to reset, by the way, no joke, because after like half year, I finally decided to, I was having some tokens to spare, and I decided to go with Maggrat. And I make her like 555, maybe 1. So this is the main reason this hero is leveled up. But back in the days, it was crazy hype around Maggrat. But right now, the reports I see for Maggrat with Celestials is not that crazy. I know it's not only the power creep, it's many things that change in this game, and each of these things that is changing in the game or is presented as something new affect the old mechanics in the game. So that's why the reports of Margaret is not looking that crazy what was back in the days. And we all know that reports back in the days. And that's when I realized something I had thought before. The best hero reset might actually be the one you never need. Not because the event is bad, because your investment process was good enough that you never depend on it. You invest slowly, you wait it, you test it, you ignore hype. You don't have many regrets to fix. I honestly think that's the mindset experience players develop over time. They don't plan around risky mechanics, they plan around making fewer mistakes at first place. And I think that's a much healthier way to build an account. So I don't think the Hero Reset event is teaching you how to recover resources. I think it's teaching you something much more valuable. It's forcing us to look on at how we make those decisions. Because if your first reaction is great, now I can fix everything, you probably make a same mistake again. But if your reaction is, why did I make that investment at the first place? Then the event has already made you a better player. And honestly, I think that's the real purpose of the Hero Reset. And something else that I want to point about Hero Reset is, maybe if you are at the end of the end game player, you can basically, for example, you have your mages awakened. I mean, the moment I awake Verdun, I'm going to have all of the mages awakening. But the thing is, maybe this is generation 5. We're having also overall heroes like Seuna, like Mu, like Thea. That is a very good mage heroes also. So it just the game give you opportunity to reset something from season 1 and season 2, and maybe invest in something that you don't have, like for example cavalry. You want to invest in Bakshi and Emrys, you're going to be able to invest in Bakshi and Emrys. You want to invest in Theodore and Forundil, you're going to be able. Maybe generation 3, when they come, maybe you're going to have a chance to invest, even though I don't think it's going to come soon, the generation 3. Who was the generation 3? Yeah, it was actually Uruk with Tobin. Till these days, Uruk is doing crazy amount of damage, no joke. So, I don't know, soon we're going to see generation 3 heroes. But I believe if generation 3 come, I'm definitely going to boost my Uruk with my Uruk and start working over the cavalry. This is my plans at the end of the day. If I get chance to do a reset of generation 3 heroes. So it's also this way of investment you can do with the hero reset event at the end of the day. Anyway guys, that is for this video. Huge thank you to all channel members for supporting the channel. If you do like to support the channel as well, you can check out the join button below. Members get early access to videos, exclusive content, member shoutouts, and Warwords member can reach me out directly for strategy and account advices. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.